So we just covered how to monetize content. So we covered the first two ways that one person can tell other people about their stuff. So the first two ways to advertise, warm outreach and posting content. All right, so now we're going to transition to cold outreach. So letting people know one-on-one about the stuff that you sell. So we're going to cover how it works, how to contact people, what to say, how much to do, benchmarks, and why bother. All right, and I want to be clear, this builds on what we learned from warm outreach. All right, so this is adding two on top. This is kind of like the advanced version. Like if you can't even pitch your friends, right? And I'm saying, when I say pitch your friends, I mean offer them free stuff and ask them if they know anybody, because again, we're not pitching them anything. But until you get used to just talking to people in general, I'd recommend starting with warm before going to cold. So let's go and dive in. So here's how it works. We advertise to people who don't know us, cold audiences. And like before, we can contact them publicly or privately, right? And so this is privately contacting people one-on-one with cold outreach. So that's email, phone call, direct message, SMS, anything like that is all cold outreach, right? And so that's to a list of strangers. So if you can figure out a way to contact somebody one-to-one, you can use it for cold outreach. So you can knock on 100 doors, make 100 phone calls, you can send 100 direct messages, you can send 100 voicemails, and it worked 100 years ago, it works today, and when the platforms change, it will work tomorrow. So cold outreach has one key difference from warm outreach. Trust. Strangers don't trust you, all right? They don't even know you. You're just a weirdo. And in the past, weirdos and strangers are danger, all right? So we have to bridge that gap of stranger danger in as short a time as possible to get them to know, like, and trust us so they will eventually do business with us, all right? And so compared to people who know us, strangers present three new problems. Number one is that first, you don't have a way to contact them. Duh, because they're strangers. You had the contacts before because they were your contacts, and you don't have a way to contact strangers. Number two is that even if you can contact them, they ignore you. And then third, even if they give you their attention, they're not interested. So what do we do? Well, I'll show you how to contact them. So the first question I get is, but how do I contact them? The simple answer is you build a list. And there's three ways to build a list. You can scrape them, you can buy them, you can look for them. All right, so those are the three main ones. And I've done all of these. All right, so let's break these down. Scrape them means you're using softwares. And so this is what I would call step one. All right, so you want to subscribe, in my opinion, to as many of these softwares as you can. So they're list scraping or lead scraping softwares out there, or outbound softwares. If you Google enough of those things, you'll find the stuff you're looking for. All right, and so you subscribe to as many of them as you can, search them all based on your criteria of the type of customer you're looking for. Then try out a representative sample, say a few hundred from each of the software that you use. And if the contact information is up to date and the leads are responsive and they're the type of person the software claims them to be, then bingo, buy more. Now you found a great treasure trove of people who might be the right type of people to buy your stuff, all right? The second way, and I've used these two, is brokers. So just like you can have people who buy and sell anything, there's people who buy and sell lists. They're list brokers, all right? And there are multiple list brokers out there. And so all you have to do is go to many of them and ask them to make you a list. And most of them will give you a sample list to show you that their stuff is good. All right, and you give them the same audience criteria that you typed in the software. Now, sometimes list brokers can be even more nuanced than software can be because that's their whole business. Sometimes they can't. It really depends on the quality of the broker, just like anything else. All right, and so once I get that, they send me a sample, just like before, and I test the sample out and see how it does. If I get good results from one or more brokers, then I stick with their list and I ask them to get me more lists. Now, some list brokers might only have a certain amount, and that's fine. Then you buy all the ones they have and you ask them if they know anybody, just like you would before, right? And then you warm outreach that person. And that is the second way that you can go get yourself a list of strangers who might be interested in buying your stuff. The third is elbow grease, all right? This is actually doing it. So this is where you join the groups and the communities that I think have my audiences, all right? And so when someone meets my qualifications, I check to see if I have ways to contact them in the group's directory, so links to their social media profiles, etc. And if they do, I add them to my list. If they don't, I can reach out to them directly within the platform hosting the group. Now, the last piece isn't ideal. So I try and find other ways to contact them outside of the group because I don't want to lose my membership to this group or this community if it's a way that I generate leads. All right? And so if you think about that as a microcosm, you can post content in a group or an audience to get value and then try and contact them outside of that group independently or not on that platform so that you're not interrupting the flow of what's going on in the group so you don't get kicked out. All right? Again, just rules of thumb overall, you want to give more to the community than you take. Okay? And so the nice thing is that each of these three ways is different. And I move down from easiest to hardest. But the flip side is that the easier it is for you, the easier it is for other people and your competitors to use those same tools. And so as you work down that list of softwares or buying them from brokers or making the list yourself, you also go to more and more version lists, as in lists that haven't been hit or bombarded over and over and over again. If you use a software that costs 99 bucks a month and you get unlimited leads on, lots of people have hit those leads. Probably. Doesn't mean you can't succeed, just means many people might have hit it, right? On the flip side, if you assemble the list from many different groups that you join manually, the likelihood that many people have solicited those people is far less. So you might have a far more responsive list, especially if they've seen you provide content to that group, which is why all of these advertising methods work together. And so here's the action step. Find your scraping tool by searching outbound lead scraping tool or database lead scraping. Find brokers the same way. And if you have more time than money, then you might want to start at step 3 since it only costs time. Okay, so if you don't have any money, then you can skip the buying brokers and using software. And that's, again, if you have no money. Most software is not too expensive. But if you really have nothing, then start by scraping manually. And here's a little pro tip for you, is that interest groups are the warmest cold audience you can get. Okay, so interest group contains some of the highest quality leads because they're concentrated pools of people looking for a solution. It's a key point. They've already, in some way, they're like micro-engaged. So I would consider them problem aware. Right? They're aware they have a problem already, and now they're in search of a solution. And so you don't have to make them problem aware. They already are aware they have a problem, or they want to grow. They have a deficit in where they are and where they want to go. And so now you can intercept them and provide them a solution. And so that's what we do. We give them a solution. And so nowadays, there's software that can scrape information in these groups too, and I would recommend you use it. And they're one of my favorite places to fish. So I explained how it works. I explained how you can contact them with the 3 ways. You can scrape them, you can buy them, or you can elbow grease them. All right? So once you scrape the list, here's what you say. So personalize and then give big, fast value. You'll notice that this is similar to warm outreach where we personalize, okay? Now, the give big, fast value is maybe the difference between the two. Now, if we want to be super Saiyan on this and give you like some super advanced stuff, if you know how to conquer cold, you should treat your warm the same way. Because the way that you are able to provide value quickly, provide trust quickly to a cold audience is the hardest audience to do it for. And then when you do that to a warm audience, you get that much more engagement. All right? That's a pro tip that's not even in the book. All right? So it was just because I thought it would complicate it for people. But big picture, personalized, and provide big, fast value. All right? And the reason for that is because they don't know us and they don't trust us. All right? So here's how you personalize. You act like you know them. All right? So the idea is to make the cold outreach feel like a warm outreach. Makes it feel like a friend is reaching out to them, all right? So the best way to do this is to actually know something about the person you're contacting. So for example, if you match your area code on the phone, you have a higher pickup rate. Why is that? Because it might be someone they know or someone who knows them. If you know their name, you buy yourself a couple extra seconds. If you know something about them, you buy yourself even more seconds. Personalization in your outreach attempt, whether it's phone calls, cold emails, cold DMs, whatever, gets your foot in the door to get the sale. So here's the action step. Do a little bit of research on each of the leads before you send them a message. So when you have the list of names, just collect a little snippet about them, and when you cold call, cold email, cold DM, because you can do them all, include the snippet. And I promise you, I receive so many things from people. When you get a generic cold message, I can't get it out of my inbox fast enough. If someone takes time to actually understand what my business is, understand my needs, understand a little bit of my background, and then makes that, I will usually take the time to read it. Why? Because I'm interested in myself, right? And so we want to leverage that self-interest to get them to respond and like us more. So invest the time, pay the people, pay the software that do that. Now, there are softwares right now that do that, right? So the problem number 2 here is that I have my list now, but what do I say to them? That's what you say. You talk about them. So here's a little pro tip for you. I got a 50% response bump in email, which is pretty big. And all I did was I rewrote all of our templates in below 3rd grade reading level. So what I recommend doing is taking all of your scripts, all of your phone scripts, all of your text scripts, all of your email scripts, everything, and running them all through a free reading level app online. All right? I won't recommend one because they go out of business all the time, but I promise you can find one. All right? So all you do is you make your message easier to understand and more people will respond because they actually get it. It's easier for them to comprehend. Because again, we have a fraction of a second. And the moment they see a word that they kind of don't understand, they'll stop reading. Number 2, they didn't like us before, so we personalize it, and they don't trust us, so we have to provide big, fast value, okay? And so the key difference between people who know you and strangers is that strangers give you less time to prove your worth, right? So maybe when a family member calls, if they just waste your time, eventually you're like, all right, man, I gotta go, right? Just like, okay, this is not worth my time. Someone you're familiar with, you give more time. Someone you're less familiar with, you give less time. Someone you don't know, you give seconds, right? It's just a spectrum. And so here's how you do it. You give away the farm. We're not trying to tickle their interest. We're trying to blow their minds in under 30 seconds with the value that we're going to provide them. That's where your lead magnet comes in. That's why it was the first thing we talked about. You need to make your lead magnet exceptional. I just want to emphasize the fact that it's not like, oh, here's my thing. Make your thing exceptional and make it insane so that they will want to listen more, all right? So if your thing isn't working, you need to make it so good people feel stupid saying no. All right, that was why it was the title of the first book. So if, by the way, your lead magnet is not working, I wrote an entire book about making offers. This is an integration, by the way, that outlines how to do this. All right, so you can go, you can read that book, you can follow the things. There's a course online, acquisition.com, that also outlines the stuff in the book so that you can use it and make better lead magnets so that people trust you with the big, fast value faster, okay? So, action step. Provide the biggest, fastest value you can afford to with your lead magnet or offer. Write your scripts. Phone and chat scripts are never more than a page or two, and cold emails rarely are more than half a page. So you don't need to overthink it. All right, so if you're thinking about this, it's like this is not a lot of words that you have to put down to make this happen. The actual action is reaching out, not the script. Like the first message might only be 2 or 3 sentences. All right, if you're doing DMs, and if you're calling, it's a page, maybe 2 pages. Like this does not take a long time, and you will learn more from your first 100 cold calls than 100 books on how to cold call. All right, so it is a higher ROI on time to just get started. And to give you a head start, I'll provide my sample phone, email, and direct message script at the end of the chapter. It's also online at acquisition.com. All right, cool. So once you know what to say, now you have how much should I be doing of this, okay? So I'm not getting as many chances to tell people about my amazing stuff. What do I do? And as a quick side note with the lead magnet thing that I was saying earlier, we were able to triple the response rates to our outbound at gym launch. After months of doing this, the biggest breakthrough we had was actually switching the thing that we were offering for free on the phone. And so when I talk about offering a level of service for free, I mean it. Because if you offer, what you want to do is offer what other people actually charge for. Not offer something so good that you could charge for it. No. Offer stuff that other people charge for. It's a much cleaner way, and they already have an anchor for what the value is. They understand that this actually costs businesses money. And when you do that, the likelihood that they will respond to you is significantly higher. And you will significantly increase the percentage of people who respond to your outreach attempts, okay? So once you do that, now you get to problem number 3, which is, okay, I have my list, and I'm reaching out to people with a good lead magnet, but I'm not getting enough chances to tell people my stuff, so what do I do? So there's 3 things that we're going to do. We're going to increase volume. And all 3 of these things increase volume. So the number of times and the number of people who hear your thing. All right? So 1 is we automate delivery. 2, we automate distribution. And 3, we follow up more times and more ways. So let's break down all 3. So when we automate delivery, we want to do that to the extent that we can. All right? Because what it does is it unlocks huge scale. So there's 2 ways you can think about delivering anything. You can have something that you deliver live. You can have something that you record. So I could copy and paste something that is recorded. Right? Now, flip side is I could leave a live voice memo that I say the person's name in it, and then I send that as my DM. The likelihood that that gets a higher response rate is much higher. Why? Because it took active time to write it. So it's scaling the unscalable in a way. We're personalizing the outreach attempt. It's just a different way of personalizing. Now, in time, as AI becomes crazier and crazier, there will be a continuous arms race between people sending and people receiving of, is this legitimate, or is this AI that said my name, et cetera, and we'll figure it out over time. But for right now, you can automate to the degree that you possibly can without sacrificing response rate. Because fundamentally, all it is going to be number of people reached out to times response rate equals output. And so you can move either of these. You can go way more volume and have automated and get a fraction of people to respond, but you put enough N in the amount that you get a big output, or you get a high percentage of people respond. The ideal is that you do both. And by the way, if you have a small audience that you're going after or a small number of leads, then I would say personalize to the greatest degree possible, because those probably cost you a lot of time and effort to get, and I wouldn't want to burn through them. One man's 2 cents. With live, you could say a script to someone over the phone. You can send a personal voice memo to each lead. You can write a handwritten card to every person on your list. Like, think about how much of a response you'd get if each of these things happened. So Gary Halbert had this famous thing where he said, you want to write your sales letters like you only had 1 letter left to make all the money you needed for the rest of your life. He said, what would that letter sound like? What would it look like? Well, it'd probably be, and this again, this is different time, but the fundamental principles apply. He said, well, you probably handwrite it on the card. You'd probably put the stamp on manually yourself. You probably make the whole card handwritten. Well, if that's this extreme, that's because that's the highest response rate. It takes more elbow grease. But if you have more time than money, then use it, right? As you make more money, then you can start making those trades. But when you deliver manually, live, you get the highest response rates. Now, when you deliver in a recorded fashion, you can pre-recorded voicemail to someone's messages. You can do a pre-recorded voicemail to someone's voicemail box. You can send a templated email to an inbox or a templated text to someone's phone. We can send pre-recorded videos, etc. You record your message one time and then send the same message to everyone. Will you get responses? Yes. Will they be as good as the other one? No. Again, the trade-off depends on how much money and how much time you have. And so I won't hit on this harder because I said it earlier, but AI is going to really change how the game works, and it's going to be a constant iterating thing that I just recommend you stay on the cutting edge of. So number 2 is the automate distribution. Okay, so one, we automated the making of it. The other one is we're talking about automating the delivery of it. So again, we have manual versus automated. So manual example is that you dial the phone number. You click send on each email. You click direct message, or you click send on each text. That's manually sending it. Right? Automated is use a robot to dial multiple numbers at the same time. You send a blast of 1,000 emails, 1,000 texts, 1,000 voicemails all at once. So you can have your thing that's manual, but you can automate distribution of it. All right? So each of these elements, you can add automation to give you more scale. And so generally speaking, not always because of AI, but generally speaking, you sacrifice personalization for scale. You get a higher response rate with personalized messages, and so the fewer you have, the less automation you should use, in my opinion. So for example, if you're going after hedge fund managers to sell some enterprise software to, or sell some sort of data to, which is a business, by the way, there's only, what, a few thousand hedge fund managers in the entire United States, at least in the US, and I don't know how many there are in the world. There's not a lot of them. And so what would you do if you're trying to reach them? Well, you'd probably write a personalized handwritten letter. And honestly, beyond that, you probably send them a personal gift because their account is probably worth a ton of money, but there aren't many of them. So you go way out of your way to get the response rate. If you're selling weight loss leads or weight loss products in the United States, well, okay. If you're selling women, then you've got 160 million people in the US that are women, and if it's over a certain age, then maybe you've got 100 million that are of age that would qualify. Okay, well, you've got a lot more to shoot from, and so you might have more automation in that instance. So it really just depends on what you're selling and who you're selling to. All right? And so personalization tech, as a side note, is that the perfect combination for maximum leads is max personalization with max volume. And with tech, you don't always sacrifice personalization with scale. And every day, data becomes more accessible to find personal data. All right? So if you can set up the tech to accomplish both personalization and volume, you have an incredibly effective lead-getting combo. And so number 3, for getting more volume, because you want to get more people to respond to you, is follow up more times in more ways. And so there's 2 ways that you can get more from your list. All right? So more ways and more times. More ways means the more ways you try to contact someone, the more likely you're to contact them. For example, I don't respond to phone calls, like I said earlier, but I respond more to direct messages than I do. It's just me. Not everyone's like that. Some people like phone calls. On the flip side, you also have more times. So if you contact someone multiple times, then you show that you are serious. All right? And doing so quickly, and this is the key point, communicates that you have something important to discuss. So curiosity increases because they fear they're missing out. So if you contact someone twice via email and text and phone call, and then, or 3 times, and then 3 times again a few hours later, and 3 times again a few hours later, the likelihood they respond is pretty high. A lot higher than if you called once and didn't leave a voicemail. But the thing is most times, that's what people do and say, this doesn't work. So don't do that. More times, more ways. And I said this earlier, I'm going to say it again, is that Cindy might have not been in the right micro space. She might have been between things at that time. She might have had a full day where she was out with her family golfing or whatever people do, at Disney World, right, with her family, and she might not have responded at all to all 9 of the outreach attempts, okay? Or she might not have needed your thing right then, and she might need it again later. And so once their lead list is big enough, believe it or not, you can actually keep harvesting from that list. You go right back to the top, and you work it again, the same as we did in cold outreach. The reason I'm bringing this up is because there are parallels between warm and cold. It's just that cold, we got to be tighter and better. And so bottom line here is act like you're actually trying to get a hold of these people rather than going through the motions, and you probably will. And don't be a nincompoop. All right, that's my disclaimer. If someone asks you to not contact them, don't contact them again. All right, not because there isn't a chance that it could work, but because for the same effort, you could reach out to someone who isn't already negatively inclined, who doesn't already hate you. It's just more efficient to turn neutrals to yes than no to yes. And on top of that, you don't want a bad reputation. That stuff follows you. So try hard because you have a genuine desire to resolve their problem, but be respectful. So when you finish contacting your list, start back at the top again. And this actually works for the 3 reasons I said. They might not have seen it, they might not have had time to respond, or their circumstances have changed. Those are all 3 very good reasons to follow up. So don't listen to your own head trash about that. Action step. After you've attempted to contact them multiple times, multiple ways, wait 3 to 6 months, and then do it again. And so pro tip, if you are new to outreach on the team, shout out the best guy on the team. All right, so if you're in a company, so this is a little bit more to the employees. And then double their inputs. So if they make 200 calls, make 400. And if that means you work more, duh, right? You're gonna suck before you're good. And you can make up for your lack of skill with volume faster. Volume negates luck. You can do away with luck if you just increase your volume sufficiently. And when you do twice as many, you get good in half the time. And once you beat their numbers, then you can get cute and try new things. So replicate what they do before you iterate on it, all right? So don't try and get cute. Look at what the best guy does, copy it exactly with twice the volume, and then until you beat that guy's numbers or that gal's numbers, don't change anything. And then once you have enough mastery, then you can get cute with it. All right, here's a little bonus voicemail script for you. Let's say you're targeting Adidas and Nike is one of your customers, okay? Hey, John, it's Alex. I'm calling in reference to Nike. Please give me a call back at whatever. And so the thing is that actually gets a ton of callbacks because what does that sound like? Like someone who actually knows them, right? Or someone who has some piece of information they might find relevant. So if you know some of their customers or someone who's in their circle, reach out to them using the third-party trust. All right, I'm giving you some tactics here because I actually get this. I understand this stuff. I know what it's like to have no fucking reputation and actually have to like drum and like make business. All right, so like this is a script. There are many others like them that are out there. I'm just giving you this one as a way to think through it, okay? So here's why this works. It's short. No need for your prospect to overthink it. It's relevant. I'm not mentioning any company. I'm just mentioning a competitor. And then 3, it opens a loop. Humans are curious by nature and hate open loops, just like I've created here. So for example, if I was contacting a gym, I would look at a gym across the street from them that they would know, and I would say, hey, hey John, it's Alex. I'm calling in reference to Wolf Fitness. Give me a call back at XYZ. If I'm the owner of 123 Fitness and I hear about Wolf Fitness from across the street, Big Bad Wolf, I might be like, I wonder what it's about. Like, what could, curiosity. So I call back, right? And now it's inbound. So here's what you don't do. Hey, this is Alex. I'm calling from, just say who you're looking for. John? Yeah, it's Alex. From, right? See the pauses there? If I were talking to somebody that, like, you can hear in my tone that I give the pause to give them the idea that they should be searching their memory for my name. But you know what they're not doing? Hanging up. Don't say this is first name, don't mention your company name, and don't fail to follow up. All right, so follow up no matter what, okay? So how much should I do? A lot. And that's what we do. We automate all those different pieces, and we get more volume up. So here's some benchmarks. So we said earlier that there are 3 problems that strangers create, which we have now solved. Number 1 is that how do I contact them? You scrape them, you buy them, or you elbow grease them. Problem number 2 is that you have your list, but what do you say to them? Well, we outline the script, we personalize it, big fast value, as fast as humanly possible. The big breakthrough we had, we 3x'd our response rates by actually giving something that other people used to charge for away for free. Number 3 is I'm not getting enough chances to tell people about my stuff. What do? You increase volume. You do that by automating delivery and automating distribution, right? And you can do that if you have enough scale. Now, if you want more people to respond and you have more time, then you go even heavier on personalization so you get your response rates up. And I give you a sample script, okay? So how well are you doing? The 2 times I failed at cold outreach, I hired people who never tracked metrics well. The 3rd person did, and cold outreach succeeded. And so here's an example. There's me pitching. So 100 cold calls a day, you get a 25% pickup rate, so 25 pickups, and 25% want to take the lead magnet, whatever the thing is. So 4 people become engaged leads. So that means that it may take me 4 hours of making cold calls to get 1 engaged lead per hour. So 4 total. Not a bad deal. You get 1 engaged lead per hour. It's okay. It's not a bad gig. In terms of your cost per time, it's 0. It's whatever food it takes you to stay alive. Right? If it's somebody else, it's whatever their hourly rate is. Not a bad cost, right? And this is how it works. And so I'll tell you, this is actually a screenshot from one of our portfolio companies that we had just tweaked one of their outbound email delivery systems. And they have a massively effective outbound email only system. And so here's the emails per day. We got 30% open rate, which in the phone call would have been in pickups, right? And 10% that opens reply, right? Pretty good. Now the opportunities we don't track in there, but you can see like these are actual numbers from a company. So like you can get good at this stuff, and this company is very good at it. Here's a pro tip for you. So give each rep an explicit number of leads to work every week. So they should care for these leads like they are children, all right? So give a rep too many and they will waste them. And I think that's why it's important to get your own leads in the beginning, because you will know how valuable these are and how hard you have to work for them, all right? So if someone can work 100 leads at full capacity, I'll give them 70-ish. That way they have time and energy to squeeze everything they can out of the leads they've got. And since all reps get the same amount of leads every week, you can give them absolute quotas for deals, all right, which is kind of nice. So I give you 70 leads, you give me back 7 appointments. I pay you, no leads left behind. That's the game. And so here's your action steps. So it's still you, because we're in the core 4, the stuff that only one person can do. So it's you. What are you doing? Hook and then a lead magnet or core offer, big fast value. Where? Any private communication platform. To whom? The leads list that you scraped, bought, or software used. When? Every day, 7 days a week. Why? To get leads to engage to sell more stuff. How? Live calls, voicemail drops, email blast, text blast, direct message text, video messages, voice messages, direct mail pieces, handwritten cards. All of those things are examples of cold reach outs. How much? 100 a day minimum. How many? 2 times a day, 3 times a day, at least for the first few days, and then you can do 7 days of 1 times a day reach outs after that. How long? As long as it takes. So those are our benchmarks. You'll be like, man, that sounds like a lot of work. So why would I bother? So let me give you a real world of why you would bother and why it's worth it. Number 1 is that with cold outreach, you don't need to create lots of content or ads. Now, is it a bonus? Absolutely. But do you have to? No. So if you want your business to not be dependent on a face or a character or a Mickey Mouse, then cold outreach is a really viable solution. Number 2 is that your competition won't know what you're doing. Because everything is private, no one has any idea what you're saying to your prospects, and so they can't copy you. All right? You can grow as big as you want in silence. So I actually found out that there was a company, a gym company in my space, doing $10 million a month from cold outreach, and I didn't even know they existed. And that was when I was like, you know what, I need to look at this closer. And that was ultimately the time I succeeded, because I saw how much scale they had, and I said, man, if they're doing that in my space, this is worth it. Number 3, it's incredibly reliable. The numbers through the funnel work like clockwork. Once you get the first guy all the way through, it's really just about increasing volume. It's incredibly reliable. It's just a machine. And the pipeline continues to stack over time. If you've been doing cold outreach a year, 2 years, you start to have leads that contacted from you 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago. And that's why making the content as the long-term nurture strategy also brings people back in your world. Number 4 is that there are fewer platform changes. So, algorithms change on content with paid ads. They change CPMs. There's rules that change. They ban certain types of businesses. But cold call laws haven't materially changed, and the actual process almost hasn't changed at all. Emails, direct mail, think about the post service, not a lot of things have changed over a long period of time. Have things changed? Yes. But compared to the other ways of getting customers, not even close. So once you get the machine working, you can be pretty confident that it's going to keep working for a long time, which makes it a very valuable thing for the business. Number 5 is that compliance is less painful. So again, all you have to worry about here is just legal compliance rather than platform compliance and legal compliance. So for example, selling tobacco or selling firearms or selling weight loss, selling adult toys, whatever, on some platforms is banned. Completely legal, just banned on the platform. And so you just have fewer things you have to worry about in a private communication environment than you do in a public environment. Number 6 is that because you have no spokesperson, you actually create a more sellable business. Because if an acquirer, somebody's going to buy your business, knows that there's a team of 20 guys who are cold calling every day to get business, if the owner swaps, it doesn't really matter. It's okay. That doesn't interrupt the client getting. But on the flip side, if you are the one rainmaker for the whole thing, it becomes a significantly larger risk for the business, which makes it less sellable. So it makes a business much more valuable. And so one of the reasons, one of, if not the main reason that I think Gym Launch was able to sell for the multiple it did was because we had 50% of our sales that came from cold outbound. So for them, they knew, okay, they've paid ads, but they also have an equally strong channel with cold outbound. And they also know, cool, well, we can double the outbound team and we'll double the sales, which is more or less what they did. And then number 7 is, again, it's hard to copy. If everything's done in private, no one knows what you're doing. So you don't have to innovate nearly as quickly on the client getting process. Whereas if you have to make content or make paid ads, you have to make new ads all the time, you have to make new hooks, new angles, new campaigns. Same thing with content, you have to think about trends, topics, all that stuff. Whereas here, all you're really doing is finding the perfect opening script, the perfect follow-up message, the perfect thing to offer. And then once you have those, you can do it for 20 years. And so I just want to break a little belief here about scale. So scaling to 60,000 emails a month. So to break your beliefs around what's possible, here's an example. So to break past 1 million a month, we automated the entire process of scraping, crafting, and sending emails for one of our portfolio companies. One virtual assistant sends 2,000 emails a day using multiple pieces of software. This generates the business 40 engaged leads per day. Note, the response rate dropped because we took so much personalization off. From there, they're able to get about 10% of those engaged leads sold, meaning they get 4 new customers a day. This got them past that 100 customers a month barrier. Fun facts. They started with us at 250,000 per month. Mind you, we do much bigger businesses now, but this is earlier on when we started. Our minimum size requirement at the time. And that business now makes, actually now the number's higher, over $20,000 per customer in lifetime value. Can you do the math with 4 customers a day, how much money they make? Interesting. All unlocked with cold outreach. So hopefully, that's why you should bother. And that is how you do cold outreach.